Want to expand the reach of your content? Start a podcast. Feature industry experts on your show and leverage the influence and reach of your guests to grow your brand. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I am your host for today's episode, Nikki Ivy at Sweetfish Media. I've got with me today Alex Withers, who is Chief Business Officer at inMotionNow. Alex, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Nikki. Pleasure to be with you.
Yeah. Glad to hear it. So you're going to be talking to us today about the big payoff for marketing, where CMOs can align creative and marketing, which I know a lot of folks are going to be super excited to hear about. But before we do that, I'd love for you to just give us a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the folks at inMotionNow have been up to these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a classically trained CMO. I have revenue responsibilities now as Chief Business Officer, but my background is all marketing all the time. So I came out of business school on the Pepsi graduate program. I've worked at brands like ESPN, Financial Times, the US Golf Association, so looking after the US Open Golf Championship. So I've always worked for large global brands with large global footprints, and I've had the privilege of running both marketing and creative teams in those roles. I've also run sales teams as part of my responsibilities. And so I believe that has made me a better marketer, understanding the kind of the tip of the spear and the revenue side of the organization. You know, I've really enjoyed working in different capacities across these global brands. But one thing that has never sort of waned is my passion for the brand and for creativity and what differentiates brands. So as much as I'm a data-driven marketer, I think there's a lot we can do as CMOs to reestablish our creative connection, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
Yeah. So inMotionNow is a creative workflow tool. So we are a project management tool built specifically for the marketing and creative dynamic. It's a very important one. We'll talk about it more today from a process and theoretical perspective. But the sort of the product plug is that we are the platform of choice for sort of major brands that have in-house creative teams that want to streamline how they collaborate and work with their marketing partners.
Yeah. I took a look at a lot of the things you guys have been doing before this call, and it's interesting stuff. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about it. But first, we were talking offline about how there've been, all these studies about how it's trending for CMOs to take more work creative in-house, right? Creating these in-house agencies to gain efficiencies as they try to, feed this insatiable content beast. But your business recently fielded a study that shows us how things are going. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the survey is an annual survey we do with a thought leadership body called InSource, which services the in-house creative community in this country. Great organization. And we work with them to field over 550 marketing and creative folks across roles, whether they be in leadership or operational roles. And we ask them about the state of the nation in terms of collaboration, morale, efficiency, the biggest challenges they're facing. Mm-hmm. And what that's given us back is some really good benchmark data year over year on where are the challenges that they're facing in collaboration. And what it's telling us is that leadership, which isn't great for folks like me, are not doing the best job. We are not fostering the alignment and collaboration and partnership that marketing and creative demands. And so there's a huge opportunity for us to improve that.
Yeah. And so what it seems like is happening is there's a sort of push and pull when it comes to that, what you're talking about doing and efficiency. Where does that push and pull come from?
So first off, I think you've got to look at the motivation for why CMOs are bringing creative teams in-house. If it's purely an efficiency play because they're becoming more of a data-driven, numbers-driven organization where science is completely trumping art, I think that what you're going to see is the process unravel. If you think back to the ad agency, creative agency, media agency side of things, their day-to-day job is to run a creative media process. And that's what they do. So they're set up for it. They've got creative ways to brief between account management and the creative teams. They've got traffic management. They've got core process. They've got their systems. They understand how to present to clients and how to get client feedback effectively. So they've built a process around their core business. And yet, as CMOs, we take the creative team in-house, and then all of that process seems to get thrown out of the window. And now the creative team just become order takers in a pure efficiency play. And that's not how creativity flourishes, and it's not how brands win. And so if we really want in-house teams to be successful, we have to learn from the agencies that built the model, and then we have to bring some of those best practices in-house and invest in the relationship in the same way we've invested in the marketing and sales relationship.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're describing a lot of those sales marketing alignment challenges that we're used to hearing about. Drive it a little bit more home for us as far as what the upside is to improving this and why CMOs should care.
So if you think about the core process, the marketing and sales part of that value chain is only one part. It's a very important part. We spent the last 10 years focused on it. And I'll tell you, as a CMO in a CMO capacity, I have had better relationships with my sales peers in the last 5 years than I had in the previous 5. And I think that's because systems, process, and structure has allowed us to be more accountable to one another. That same accountability, system, process, and automation does not exist between the marketing and creative organizations. And as a result, the area that should be the most aligned, where the DNA and genetic code is potentially most intertwined, is still the most stressful part of the organization when it should be very closely aligned. And so the benefit for CMOs is if you want a brand that differentiates and you want to gain higher results from your marketing and greater engagement scores from your campaigns, you need the best creative possible. So what's the point in spending all of this money on marketing technology that's pointing out to the market if you're not fueling the machine with world-class creative?
Absolutely. I mean, and you're so right that, in the past few years, we have focused a lot on the alignment between sales and marketing. And I've, barely heard any conversation about what you're mentioning here with, creative and marketing, which to your point, like you said, there does seem to be a more natural overlap or symbiosis between those two. So it's a wonder that this isn't a conversation a lot of folks are having. So I know you're piquing a lot of folks' curiosity here, and there's got to be folks listening who are like, hey, I want to do something about this. Where to that CMO, where would you suggest that he or she begin?
Well, it's a combination of things. I mean, it starts at the leadership level. Are you as a leader going to truly embrace respect and show consistency in the respect you have for the creative process? That can seem fake or not well educated if you haven't taken the time to understand the creative process as a CMO. So have you spent time with your creative team? Do you understand what they have to go through, right? I know what it takes my marketing managers to send out an email campaign or build a landing page or redo the website or go through a video project. I know how that works. What I don't understand necessarily is the creative process. And as a result, how am I supposed to respect, inform, and build bridges with creative if I don't understand it? So I think it's on leadership to embrace, understand, and learn the creative process. And then once you know it, you work as hard on that process, empowering it, as you do on other parts of the business and how you intersect with other areas, finance, sales, HR, whatever else you're doing as a marketing leader. Technology is a piece of it. Of course, we're a technology provider. It's not the only piece. There's a mix of technology and the human side of things. And we tell our customers all the time, don't expect software to solve everything. What it does is it facilitates the human connection. So it's about process and people.
Yeah, no, perfect. I couldn't have put it better myself. It definitely is about process and people and those internal relationships, right? I picture when you said, basically don't be fake about it, or disingenuous. I picture like a Michael Scott type character, patronizing,
Right.
or unintentionally talking down to a creative team, and I can see very quickly how that could go wrong. But if one were to take this approach that you're describing here, where you really be intentional and respectful about trying to understand the how that goes into what folks are trying to execute, then the entire organization is elevated. Well, thank you so much for that. So now that I've spent a little time picking your brain and seeing what I could get out of it, I am interested, Alex, in what you put into it. So talk to me a little bit about what learning resources you're engaging with. What's speaking to you and your team and got you excited these days?
So I'm a big fan of engaging with the industry at both events and in content. I think it's really important to stay abreast of trends in the industry, what's going on. And we just came back from a week at How Design Live in Chicago, and they have an amazing content program. So we had a really good time with How Design, and they really do invest a lot in thought leadership. We work very closely with Adobe. And so Adobe has both their Adobe Summit for the Marketing Cloud and Adobe Max for the Creative Cloud, both full of really good learnings. So I am a lazy learner when it comes to books, which I know a lot of my friends are like, you've got to be kidding me. You're not reading this book right now. I'm a very active learner when it comes from industry collaboration, articles, best practices, blogs, events, shows, sessions, keynotes. That's how I absorb what's going on in the industry and how I can help my team react and be proactive about how we serve it.
Yeah. Any blog come to mind that you might want to recommend for us?
So I certainly enjoy the content on InSource. We engage a lot with the AMA. So the American Marketing Association has some great content. We poll a lot on inMotionNow.com, we have our own blog, but we'll poll a lot from the outside community. And we'll look at it from a marketing perspective and a creative perspective. But I would say, InSource, Adweek is another good one. So there's a lot of great organizations out there. IHAP is another one, In-House Agency Forum. And then the Adobe blog is a great source. They've got a ton of content, but we've really enjoyed absorbing the Adobe blog, given our partnership with them.
Good stuff, man. I'm sure folks listening will want to go and check those out. And I'm sure they're also going to want to sort of follow along with you, your progress, and what's happening at inMotionNow. Alex, how can folks connect with you and keep in touch?
Yeah, so, certainly inMotionNow.com is our main website, and there's plenty of opportunities there to engage with our content and fill out very short forms, as all marketers do, and we'll reach out back to you. They can certainly email me directly at awithers@inmotionnow.com. Check us out on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. So hit us up on our social footprint. But we would love to speak with people. We've invested a lot in the innovation around process and collaboration. It's not just about Gantt charts and boring project management. It's about how are you achieving the end goal, which is getting great content out to market faster. And if there's one kind of guiding principle for us, it's and passion point for me, is to avoid the commoditization of creative. Good enough is not good enough, right? Creative is brilliant when it's better than good enough. So if we can empower people to have more time for creativity, we've done our job.
Thanks so much, Alex. Lots of little jewels of wisdom there. I look forward to having you on the show here again, and good luck with everything you guys have got going on, man.
Really appreciate it, Nikki. Thanks for having me today.
No problem. Bye.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.